viewers, in the latest update, 3 Indian seafarers who were initially reported missing have been confirmed dead after a vessel was attacked by US forces off the coast of Oman earlier this week. The same has been confirmed by the Shipping Minister Sarbananda Sonowal. The minister has called the incident a tragic loss and said that the bodies of all the 3 missing sailors have been recovered. The Palau-flagged oil tanker MT Settebello had a total crew of 28 members, including 24 Indian nationals and 4 foreign nationals, 2 Pakistanis, 1 Ukrainian and 1 Russian, when it came under the US military's attack in the Gulf of Oman. The US military said that it attacked the vessel after it allegedly failed to follow its instructions and was carrying oil from Iran. Let's in fact take a look at the 3 tankers that have been struck since June the 8th. This will give you a perspective of why this is a pressing matter that India now seems to be tracking, because these commercial tankers are now being attacked over here in the Gulf region. So let's look at the first tanker that was attacked. It was on June 8th. MT Marivex. MT stands for a motor tanker, usually the oil tankers and crude oil product tankers that carry or ferry large amounts of liquids. So MT Marivex was the first one to be attacked on 8th June 2026. It was struck in the Gulf of Oman and all 24 Indian nationals were rescued. The 24 Indian nationals who were on board this vessel. Remember that there was a very fragile ceasefire that was in place in the Gulf, in the Strait of Hormuz as well since April, but that was broken on June 7th, and after that we see these vessels, commercial vessels which were actually traversing through that strait being attacked and being struck. Let's look at the second vessel, which was MT Settebello on June 10th, 2026. 3 Indian nationals killed and 21 Indian crew members rescued. So we got reports that there is this emergency at this vehicle, at this MT Settebello vessel, and when we got to know, they tried to find these 3 missing Indian nationals. However, unfortunately, now their bodies have been recovered and identified. This has been confirmed by the Indian government as well. And now we are getting to know this is the 3rd vessel that has in fact been struck, which is MT Jalveer on 11th June 2026, struck off Oman's Shinas port, and all Indian crew confirmed on board. So now we know that all the crew over there on this ship as well are Indians, and obviously a very worrying and concerning situation for us. Let me in fact go across to Ambassador Sushil Kumar Singhal, who's joining us. He was a former diplomat, and he'll help us understand how this situation can be looked at. Ambassador, thank you so much for taking out your time and for speaking to NewsX. A very good afternoon to you. I want to start off by understanding how India will navigate this situation, sir, because now this seems like, the first tanker, Settebello, was in fact attacked by the US forces. They've confirmed it, and they said that it was because it was carrying oil from Iran and they were not following orders. Now we know that there are a lot of commercial vessels in the strait and a lot of in fact Indian crew members on these various vessels. How do we go about making sure that more people, more vessels are not struck and are not killed, sir?
Shivani, it's very alarming situation. There's no doubt. The manner in which the U.S. forces have, targeted the Indian vessels, particularly now last 3 vessels which you are talking about, it's very unfortunate, and I think we have already called, the ministry has taken very serious note of this, and we have called the Chancellery Affairs of the USA in India and lodged a very strong protest against the activity or the activity of the U.S. forces against Indian merchant vessels, and I think we have to advise now our the ships not to venture in the area, and we avoid that area. So far, I think they were, but the movement was possible because Iran has also declared that, yesterday that, no movement on the Strait of Hormuz will be allowed. So the vessel will have a threat not only from the US forces, but also from the Iranian forces. That claim of the US side that, it was carrying oil from Iran, we do not know. I do not know because there's nothing in the, in from the official side that what it was carrying, how it was carrying, whether it was coming from Iran or not. We do not know. So I would not. I will refrain from commenting on that part. But the attack, even if it was carrying the oil from the Iranian side, it was a friendly country. There's a friendly country. They could have stopped it. They could have boarded the ship instead of, attacking and killing some of the people in the on the ship, which I think it was uncalled for, and US should have refrained from it. But government of India, I think, is taking very strong note, and I think our mission in Oman and of course Iran would be taking action in the sense that advising the Ministry of Shipping will also be advising the ships to avoid this area and be careful, because that's the only thing we can do in this, alarming situation the way it is developed. And so I think as far as India is concerned, I think we need to be very, our ships have to be now navigate in that area very carefully, because we cannot rely either on US or Iran for that matter, that they will be able to guarantee the safe passage for our ships.
Absolutely.
So I think that this is very important. I'll stop on this because since you have asked the question very
Yes,
specifically about
yes.
India, so I will not venture further. Thank you, Shubha.
Ambassador, I also want to understand from your perspective, since we are tracking, there are international laws in place that protect such commercial vessels. There are obviously even commercial insurances in place for these seafarers who are in fact responsible for transporting, energy across the globe. I want to understand, earlier when the Strait of Hormuz was under a blockade and when we had negotiations with Iran, the Indian Navy was used to in fact escort these vessels to safety. Do you believe that now we need to ramp up that effort because international laws are being flouted?
Been flouted from the beginning itself. The blockade which has been imposed by US or by, for that matter, by Iran by asking that permissions. It is against the international law. That's very clear. We have a UN Convention on Law of the Sea, which very clearly states that there is the free innocent passage in the strait is to be allowed. The commercial shipping is an innocent passage. It is to be allowed. Nobody is supposed to be hindering that. And though Iran as well as US, both are not member, they have not signed this treaty of 1982. But the norms of this treaty has become a normal customary law. So everybody was following this, including US. So somebody says that, we are not member, we have not signed. I would not buy that because every country in the world is following this the laws or this convention, and from historically and even now. And this is the right of the innocent passage is enshrined history in history. It's a part of the international law, which customary international law, which everybody follows. So, but when it comes to the this part of the insurance, well, insurance, of course, these are all insured, but the cost of insurance has gone up. But insurance cannot pay the cost of life. You can provide some money, but when the people are losing life, that becomes very, very difficult, and you cannot compensate with money. So insurance is there, which will take care of the cost and other things, but you cannot really replace. And as far as, again, I said the earlier, of course, the Indian Navy was escorting, but now the problem is that that even the US is not supporting that. Earlier, USA was supporting the the passage of the ships through the Strait Now it is also effectively blocking, I would say, claiming that, I would not go, I've already mentioned about whether these ships were coming from actually from Iran or not. We don't know. We are not clear about it. But point is that US forces are actively hindering the movement of the ships.
Right.
And of course, other side is the Iran, which has declared that no ship will be allowed to pass through. So in that case, now the situation becomes slightly difficult for the Indian Navy. Because
Absolutely.
if the Indian Navy start escorting ships in this situation, then they will be in direct confrontation with the Iranians as well as with the Americans. Because if they are attacked or the ships are attacked, they will be under obligation to retaliate.
Okay. So very,
So,
very, very complex situation over there.
situation, because then otherwise then immediately we'll become the party to the dispute, which we of course we want to avoid. So I think the better course for us at this moment is to avoid this area till the things cool down and we have a clear understanding how the ships can go.
All right. Ambassador, if I can request you to please stay on with us. There's a breaking development that I'd like to address for our viewers, and then I'll come back to you. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran has strongly condemned the crimes of the American regime in the massive attack on Iran last night, and it has emphasized that the responsibility for the very dangerous consequences of this arson will be borne by the American governing body. The illegal and criminal attacks of the United States in recent hours are not only a flagrant violation of the United Nations Charter and the fundamental rules of international law in respect of the national sovereignty and the territorial integrity of governments, but it has practically rendered the ceasefire dated April 19th, 2026 meaningless. This is what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Iran has now stated. So, Ambassador, now we are obviously seeing Iran has closed the Strait of Hormuz. Iran's foreign ministry has given out this statement that the US now will be responsible for all kinds of consequences that are going to be very grave.
Shivani, the thing is that, the way Americans have taken action twice. Once, of course, they said, because of the Abchi incident, and then, of course, the Iranian retaliated. And now American side have again attacked the, 15, 20 places in Iran. And again, they're claiming it to be self-defense. That, there was some action on the Iranian side, and that's why they are retaliating. So, what is happening in my view is very, very, of course, the situation is very delicate, because if the Iranians decide to expand as they were threatened, then I think there is a chance of all-out war happening again. But right now, what I see is Iran is just issuing a statement, or they may take some, perfunctory, like earlier they did, that kind of, they launched some missiles and then stopped. Already they have announced that the Strait of Hormuz has been closed. So Iran, unless it takes massive, disproportionate action, that I think this ceasefire would continue to hold. They will make, of course, the strong noises, but they will continue to abide by this ceasefire. This is my understanding. Unless Iran decide to escalate, which I feel the chances of very limited. Of course, anything can happen when the tensions are high. So but still I feel that Iran will not like to escalate it further. USA is attacking, is intentionally provoking, trying to show that, America, because President Trump has to show strength, and is frustrated that the things are not moving on the peace agreement, on the terms of US. So I think this again is another form of coercive diplomacy from the by the President Trump, and I think his Secretary of War, Peter Hegseth, also has said that we are looking for peace, but we are ready to fight. So the peace process, despite all these escalations, I think still there is a chance, and both sides are looking.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Ambassador Singhal, for your valuable perspective on this issue. We appreciate